Hi there, and welcome to Exit Stage Right with Martha Sullivan. This is a show where we talk about ways to build and grow your business so that it at some point can transfer to its next owners and you can exit stage right into your next adventure. I'm Martha Sullivan, your host, so welcome and thank you for joining us today. This show is indeed about ways to build and make sure that your company is thriving and striving for its future in its best and brightest self, and you along with it, so you're able to meet your financial goals. So you may be aware that in September, we have been celebrating National Chicken Month. Who knew that there was a National Chicken Month? I didn't, but we've been talking about everything from being too chicken to talk about things in your business, to counting chickens before they're hatched, or we'll eventually talk about what came first, the chicken or the egg. But today I actually want to focus on how chickens are coming home to roost. And they do so in many businesses along the way. But the one that I was really thinking about today, it is really very much in the public eye, and it is a family business that is, it doesn't get any bigger and more visible than the royal family. And today, in fact, today's show is taking place on a very significant day in history. It's the day that the royal family in the United Kingdom will lay to rest their queen. And I believe that this succession process is indeed a way that chickens are going to come home to roost. Queen Elizabeth, for many, many years, many decades, in fact, has been the glue that held the royal family together for so many years. She was the reason that they came together. She was the reason that people flocked to honor her and the family that she built. And ultimately, she guided not only her son, but sons and daughter, but also was, I think, a key role in guiding the next generation with Prince William and Prince Harry in terms of understanding how to navigate the family and the family business, how you keep a game face on, how you need to behave in certain circumstances, what the rules of the business were, and the expectations of the business. And if there was ever a family business, it is the royal family, from the perspective of the rules and the constructs and all the things that they need to do to navigate and run the business of the monarchy. It is a family business that puts the business first over family first. And now that she's gone, there's going to be a huge void. There is going to be potentially a lack of glue to hold the family together. And I believe that is the case in every family. Whenever we lose a matriarch or a patriarch in a family business, whether the mom was the queen, as in the Queen of England, or the queen in the family, a shift occurs when that patriarch or matriarch is no longer there. When the last of a generation passes, the shift can be pretty seismic. And the questions come racing in terms of, now that that generation is gone, or at least the patriarch of the business is gone, what is my role? how has it changed? How do I behave now in this new role? How does that change the dynamics and the mix within the business and the family? How do I behave? How do others behave? And what chickens are going to come home to roost now that that person is no longer there to protect or advocate or advise and counsel to keep things moving in the way that they had, whether that's good or bad. And so I think that while the royal family is experiencing all of this, while the world is watching, they are under intense microscopes where every micro action is being scrutinized and interpreted and projected for consumption. I think, really, thank goodness we mere mortals don't have to endure such oversight and invasion into these types of moments in our lives. But I think there's a lot we can learn, good and bad, if you will, as we observe the ultimate family business going through this transition and as they chart new waters. So there are a few observations that I have relative to the royal family, at least. One thing that they have done extraordinarily well is they had a contingency plan and a succession plan in place. It was very clear, I'm sure well before Queen Elizabeth was ailing and dwindling in her health and vitality. There were contingency plans mapped out and known not only by the family, but by all the members of the business that support the family. There were protocols, there were expectations, and everything was set out in terms of how the business of the monarchy would continue without her at the helm. So they had clear plans, protocols, processes, systems, you name it. No doubt the monarchy has it all mapped out. And in some instances, those guidelines have been in play for centuries. Another aspect that they have done very well, speaking of things being in place for centuries, are that the succession lines were clear. It was known for decades that Prince Charles was heir to the throne. He knew that. And as Charles ascends to the throne, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex ascend to the role of Prince and Princess of Wales. And so those lines are clear and known. And the teams of people that serve those roles as king now, or served the queen, or served the Prince and Princess of Wales, they most likely have clarity in what their new roles will be, what they will assume, and potentially what they don't assume. There's no doubt in my mind that that's pretty clear in terms of the support teams and how the business will be run as the succession lines take place. And you know what? There is real power. And I don't mean like governance power, I mean in here power. There's real power in knowing what to expect. Whether one agrees with it or not, having that knowledge, the decision and the succession lines clear, and it really allows people to settle into it and develop in their current and future roles and contribute to the overall success of the enterprise. It helps them understand how to contribute and when's the right time to contribute what in the business. In most family businesses that I work with, selecting the next leader is not mapped out. And and in many ways, fortunately, it's not just a given that the firstborn son will be the heir or the firstborn will be the heir. And thank goodness for that, because birth order or gender are not good predictors of capability or leadership capacity. But as such, because there isn't just this clear line of succession, there's a lot of hand wringing that goes into it for many family businesses, and it gets delayed as emotions and fears of family discord keep us from making the tough decisions. So that's one of the things that we, as the mere mortals in our businesses, can really learn from and take heart from, that rather than having that lack of clarity by kicking the can down the road, if we step into it, we can avoid some of the confusion and even competition that could become unhealthy in our businesses. So they've done a lot of things right. And in theory, the lines are clear, the roles are clear. But I'm kind of cynical. I wonder actually if they are as clear as we think they might be. Certainly they know who is going to be in what role, but I don't know if the specific role is that clear. It's been reported that Prince Charles for years struggled as to what his role was as the Prince of Wales. He's pretty clear how it'll shift as king, because he's had years to think about it and plan and prepare for it. But I also wonder now that Prince William is going to be the Prince of Wales and no longer the Duke of Sussex. Does he know how to prepare himself for that new role or what that role will entail? Certainly his father handled it in certain ways, but what latitude does he have? Does he have latitude? I don't know. I certainly don't know. He may not know. And with that, there's the potential for friction and challenges and difficulty. And so, when we consider the succession lines, you have to think about, well, what does this do within the business and our roles within the business? But what does it also do within our relationships as a family enterprise? So I was also thinking about Prince Harry in this light. And when you think about what's been reported about Prince Harry and his family, he's still a member of the family, but he stepped out of the family business. Does the ascension of Prince Charles to King Charles and Prince William to his new role, what does that mean? And what does it potentially mean for Harry? Will there be more pressure for him to step back into the business or not? And then think about how it came to be that he decided to step out of the business. It was basically reported that he decided to leave the business. He and Meghan Markle decided to step out of their royal duties by virtue of the fact that they didn't feel supported by the family, and as they were facing crucial and critical chronic challenges of being part of the family business. So he was raised and told, well, this is tradition and this is how it's always been, and it's what King Charles had to deal with, so it's what he has to deal with, and so kind of suck it up, buttercup. And there was no willingness to explore what does it mean. It was actually, he was offering from my chair, he was offering the family business an opportunity to stretch and evolve in their thinking, but they elected not to. And so that forced him to play a different hand. And so I think it really calls into question whether in this chaos, in this transition, whether there are going to be more issues that come up. And let's face it, what if something happens to Charles and William? And you know, before William's children are at any capacity to rule, it's not likely given the gene pool, but stuff happens. We know stuff happens. And so I think as there's this void, the queen being the clue, the royal family has the opportunity to decide what it means to be a family. Maybe they've already made that decision. Maybe they use this as an opportunity for the family to come together and redefine their vision and their goals for the future and as a family. So I like leaving you guys with a tidbit on a way that you can make sure that the chickens don't come home to roost in your own family business. Yes, I'm focusing on family business today because I actually believe that every business, if you're a business owner and you're actively involved as opposed to a passive investor, if you are a business owner, you're a family business because decisions that are made within the business impact your family. So one of the tools that I really appreciate, especially as a consultant with the Family Business Consulting Group, is the use of family meetings. Now, family meetings are really super helpful when there are multiple generations involved in the business or multiple family members involved in the business, like a sibling group or something like that. And the thing about family meetings is they're different. They're not management meetings and they're not shareholder meetings. They're really designed to move the family enterprise. That is the family, the owners of the business, as well as the business itself, to move that enterprise forward for generations, ultimately. And these are the events where the family gets together and talks about how they're going to advance the family and the business into the future, whether that be the next 5-10 years, whether that be the next 5-10 decades. And so you can be talking about anything from succession to next gen development to what are some of the core values and vision that we abide by and make sure filter from the family to the owners to the business. You can address issues of codes of conduct and behavior and how do we support one another in the framework of our family and professional lives and roles. So the other thing about family meetings is they're really, I think of them as an initiative, as a program. If you want to avoid chickens coming home to roost, you build a family meeting initiative or program that helps you map out where is it the family needs to go? What are the issues and the topics that we need to talk about to remain healthy and thriving in all aspects of the family business? And by doing that, you really help, by well designing the initiative, you help build understanding and you help build communication and systems across the entire family and resolve disagreements in more constructive ways. Disagreements are okay. In fact, they're healthy as long as they're handled constructively. And then actually the family meeting initiative is where you can craft ways and frameworks that you can support one another through good times and bad. And it just makes me wonder if the royal family had a more robust program of family meetings, not just, this is what we do in the business, and tough noogies. But if they had a more robust family meeting process, whether some of the issues that they're facing now in light of the loss of the queen, the glue, if things wouldn't be different. So I think that there are, and experience tells me that there are 4 really critical things to consider if you want to adopt a family meeting initiative and approach. First is understanding that a lot of it comes down to what is your process around your family meeting initiative. It's not a one and done thing. It's also important to be grounded in why you're doing it, what's your purpose of this initiative. And then from there, you also want to make sure that there are at least, well, there are these 4 critical elements that you build into your process. And the first one is that you ensure that as it relates to the family meetings, there are no surprises. What do I mean by that? I mean, when I'm as a family member coming to a family meeting, I know what the agenda is. I know what the decisions are that are going to be made. I understand the impact of the decisions. I know, do I have a voice? Do I have a vote? I know what's going on. There are no surprises from that perspective, and I can prepare myself accordingly. Number 2, if there are decisions that are being made, everybody has a clear understanding of what the consequences or impact of those decisions may be. So if folks are being asked to weigh in on a decision, what are the pros and cons? Why would we want to do this? Why might we not want to do this? Is this something that the shareholders ultimately will agree upon, or is this something for the family to agree upon? What are the rewards or the negative outcomes that we need to be aware of so we're making informed decisions? The third element is super important, and that is making sure that your process is structured so that all members of the family feel respected and heard. And this really gets into being mindful and thoughtful in designing your processes about how do we decide what the topics are, who's invited, what activities are appropriate for whom, and all the stuff that goes into planning really successful family meetings. And when I say that all members of the family are respected and there's an authenticity and sincerity in that that goal, I mean it. I mean differences in rank, age, gender, marital status, generation, any of that. It doesn't matter. Every person needs to feel that they are respected and heard. And even if they don't get a vote, they understand that they have the opportunity to share their perspectives on it, and that those perspectives will be considered. And while it may not win as the direction that they go, there's enough respect to wrap back around and help people understand the decisions that are made and why they're made the way that they are. Then the last point is also really super important, especially as you are starting a family meeting initiative, and that is to make sure that you're having the right meetings at the right time. I said at the outset that family meetings aren't management meetings. They're not shareholder meetings where only the shareholders are present. But you still want to be sensitive to your participants' readiness for the certain conversations. So, there are conversations and topics that don't belong at a family meeting and do rightfully belong in the shareholder meeting or rightfully belong in the management meeting. You know, otherwise you risk family members feeling emboldened to micromanage the business, or, well, I'm an owner, so I should get to say whether I like what the VP of marketing is doing. Well, no, that's not exactly what this is about. And you want to make sure that you are having the right conversations in the right venue at the right time. So those are the 4 points that I think are absolutely critical elements to having a strong family meeting process. And by having a strong meeting process, a family meeting process over time, building that foundation of communication, trust, and respect, you avoid chickens coming home to roost when there is a major crisis or a major need for succession, like we're seeing in the royal family business right now. So by all means, thank you for joining us today at Exit Stage Right. If you want to stick around for the Ask Me Anything session, please do. We'd love to have you stick around. And we will see you next time. With that, have a great week. I will see you next week. And in the meantime, go transform your business. I've got a really good feeling about this.